And ladies and gentlemen, here we are on Cloud Kingdom, and in the upper right-hand corner we have our blue Terran player from the team Evil Geniuses, looking to make it 2 straight EG players, making it to IPL 6. It's Puma. His opponent down here in the bottom left-hand corner, his former TSL teammate from the team Quantic, our red Zerg player, and the Fight Club legend himself. It's HyuN.
All right, we are back with another Terran versus Zerg on Cloud Kingdom. Let's see how it plays out differently. First off, our Zerg players in the bottom left. You know, so we shouldn't see any expansions at the top right third, unless HyuN is feeling pretty crazy, which would just be awesome, because then he'd lose and Puma would win.
Now, I've not seen too many of his TVZs lately, I have to say, or his EVTs, I should say, because he used to have a very predictable build. It would always prioritize a few early roaches, getting out there, stopping that early game attack that you used to see so often of a few Marines and things like that through the middle of the map with a couple of medevacs. And then it was designed around early upgrades, sitting on 3 bases. Right? Yeah, prioritize your gases. Let's work very quickly to infest a Broodlord. But it was really the cool, critical part of it were those early game roaches. Not early game, mid-game roaches to stop that big push in the middle and just establish complete map dominance. I'm
wondering if HyuN has followed the footsteps of Losira a little bit. Losira's been having great success recently in his TVZ matches, even in the ones he's, because you know he's been losing his fair share as well. But a lot of those games have been incredibly close, where he gets to the later stages of the game. And one of the things is he's not playing as greedy as he used to, and he goes, all right, so it's this really interesting late game style, if you guys haven't seen it, that we've actually seen more and more Zergs adopting, where you actually make a lot of Ultralisks, and instead of just rushing it straight for Broodlords, which is this kind of hard transition to make, and you can die during it, you go to the simpler one, Ultralisks. You go to Ultras, and you make tons and tons of Queens. And because so many players now are focusing on creep spread so specifically after the results of Jaedong, which have been, I mean, you can't ignore them, now, since you have all this creep, your Queens are much more mobile. And so they can go on aggressive fronts with you. So you bring out your Ultralisks, and then you engage with the Ultras, you kill all the tanks, and you fall back. You engage with the Ultras, and Ultra Bambling, excuse me.
Yeah,
they fall back with the Bio and Kite. The Ultras kill the tanks, then you fall back, and you just spam transfuse on the Ultras, and then you engage again and kill more tanks, and then you fall back and you transfuse, and your Queens are able to stay with your army the entire time, continuing to, of course, replenish creep tumors anytime Marines kill them. It's really interesting style, and you don't have to worry about the injects because you're making mostly Ultra. It's not as big of a deal when you have 6 bases, 5 bases to hit all your injects. You can kind of just remake a couple Queens, do injects here and there, and it'll all work out.
All right, well, we'll see here if we're going to see that sort of path. HyuN opening up actually with 8 Lings, so detecting a little bit of a weakness on part of his opponent and going to try and exploit that here. As we can see, Puma's actually going for a quick 3rd command center really, really early on. So, of course, no reactored Marines at the very beginning here. There is certainly a potential for these Lings to get across the map, sneak in and do some significant damage really early on.
They are a little bit late, though, to deny the command center. They won't be able to get that done, but they'll force lift on it, which is going to be really nice. Puma's going to be making SCVs out of 3 command centers. And this will also give HyuN the information he needs, because when he sees that Puma does not come down this ramp to push away these Lings as quickly as he could, anytime he comes down, it's going to be, he's going to get a mule and SCV here, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Actually, he's running right up now. Has to be able to kill a couple of these Marines early. Oh, great control from Puma so far. He's been able to pick off a lot of these Zerglings early on and keeps a couple of his Marines alive. HyuN, though, of course, has just a lot of firepower there. But look at that! Keeps a Marine alive against 8 Lings. Doesn't take any economic damage. Great move there from Puma.
Yeah, that was not the best decision for HyuN, man. That was fantastic out of Puma. I mean, he was able to keep this mule, obviously, that would have undoubtedly have been killed. It would have been 250 or so minerals thrown away. And HyuN instead, loses all of his Lings and only kills 3 Marines? Two or three Marines.
Only kills 2 Marines there. Didn't even kill the 3rd, despite he had 8 Lings there, and that should have been able to easily mop all that up.
That's really nice control out of Puma.
All right, so Puma now sitting with a great economic advantage, and you got to think usually just a couple of Lings at the beginning of the game, sometimes 4, but that's still 2 or 3 drones that HyuN could have in the bag right now.
All right, so HyuN is going to go for a fast 3rd here. He's got pretty quick double gas here, so I wouldn't expect it. 10 drones on the way right now. That's going to be giving quite a boost to his economy. Now, speed should be the first upgrade that we see here. He's going to go for very fast 4 gases.
And he goes for layers, so
already... Do you think this is Spire?
Could very well be, actually. This is already a significant difference, though, to the way he used to play. He had a very predictable build a couple of months ago, and this is quite different than anything we've seen for a while. Still going down that double Evo chamber route, and that's going to help him, prioritize those early upgrades. And there's actually the Roach Warren, so he's actually not changed up things all that much. He's bypassing speed, though, and deciding to go double Evo chamber, so into a little bit earlier layer. Roach Warren follows up afterwards. Now, usually he'd make 6 or 7 roaches at this point whenever this finishes up to counteract exactly the kind of push that a lot of Terran players like doing, as I described before. A couple of Hellions, few Marines, maybe a medevac, something like that.
All right, so HyuN is going to opt for 1-1 while 1-1 is started for Puma, in addition to Stim. He has not yet started combat shields, though. I don't think he completed it either.
No, I don't think he did. We can look at a Marine here for a second. No, Marines, there's only 4.
Very specific build here then out of Puma.
Yeah.
He did not want to build an additional tech lab. It's that specific because +1 armor is a much less effective upgrade than combat shields.
Yeah.
Like, way less effective.
Yeah, you're definitely right. So
unless you're just massing medevacs, because, well, then they have to heal less hit points.
That's right. Which is just really weird.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Exactly. Ever. So 1-1 Stim, all going to hit at about the same time for Puma. He's going to have a really nice timing available to him where he'll be able to set down his 3rd as that goes on, because he's already up to 47 SCVs. He's got quite a good economy developed here. And as you can see, HyuN actually going after +1 ranged, +1 carapace for now, and there's his 6 roaches he always makes at about the 9-minute mark. So actually, I take back what I said before. Yeah, he's really not deviating too far from what he's been doing up to this point. Looks like he's actually going up to 10 roaches and could decide to put on a little bit of pressure with this too.
This is going to be a little bit tough for Puma. He is making Marauders, which is going to be good for him, but the armor upgrade is... okay, so it's worse than combat shields, we said, but it's substantially worse than combat shields versus roaches, which do high burst damage. Each shot that they do does, with +1, it's going to do 14. So, I mean, he's barely going to be negating any of this damage. I'm really afraid for Puma with this possible aggression we're going to be seeing here out of HyuN.
Yeah, HyuN just keeps going with the roaches. He's got 7 more coming up in addition to the 22 that are already on the map, and he's going to sneak in and try and do damage right now. There are a few Marauders there. The Marauders with Stim are going to be the biggest deterrent to a few of these roaches, but man, they are making their way out very quickly.
Kevin, this is very dangerous for Puma. He needs to get some of these units back into this bunker, but he's engaging with only 2/3 of his army right now, and HyuN could just win this game right here, but Stim did complete in the nick of time for Puma. We'll see if he can get enough damage in as reinforcing roaches are coming in. He's going to chase these units on the right. Should be able to back up here in a second and face some of the units on the left. He's taking good damage, lifting into the medevac, but now the mineral line is potentially in trouble.
And look, the roaches just keep on coming. This is a 3-base roach all in, actually,
he just
from
got
HyuN.
into the main.
Yeah, now he's in the main. Oh God, this tank is going to get picked off immediately. The rest of the Marines dying off to the side here. The SCVs are going to do absolutely nothing because more and more roaches keep coming in. They keep denying economy off to the side.
This is way too much damage being dealt to Puma right now. HyuN is going to be a little set back, of course, because he doesn't have 1.5 billion roaches, but this is more than enough to get... Oh my goodness, he's even going to find 4 mules over at the 3rd base, kill all those off, and Puma's going to have no money behind this defense.
Yeah, this has really been effective so far from HyuN. So, yeah, I mean, you can see, obviously, that, the Puma has killed a lot of roaches, and now he's going to start finally pushing these back as he gathers up all of his forces here at the front, but he's already taken the economic damage that HyuN needed to do. HyuN, of course, now has 61 drones behind this to the 32 SCVs of his opponent, and he's just trying to pick off as many more as he possibly can.
Yep, and as he kills more and more units, he becomes safer and safer against counterattacks. You know what? HyuN knows... So this was the thing. HyuN killed so many units there. He's kind of done with killing SCVs. Well, now he's going to go and kill a couple more, but he was killing units in that last attack. But HyuN actually feels so confident that he can win this game right now. He's going to try to win it right now. A lot of times you see players instead macro behind an attack and such, but... No, he's just going to make roaches and drop a Baneling Ice and go for a huge Rage Bane all in. Yeah,
I mean, that's what the +2 range weapons is for. You never ever see +2 range weapons against Terran players anymore because of what we mentioned before. Obviously, with the change to the Infested Terrans, you can't actually utilize the upgrade benefit from that. So there would be no other possible reason to make any of those. So he is going to follow this up with a big attack, although he does have a macro hatch and a 4th coming down because even though he's going for a big push that can eventually kill his opponent, Infestation Pit is on the way. way. He doesn't have to win right now. He's gained a massive advantage in this game. As long as he's able to watch and hold off this drop off to the side, then he is going to be in great position to just macro up and kill his opponent from there on out.
Yeah, and I'm watching Puma's production tab, and what he needs in order to hold this off is 2 factory siege tanks. You can't do it with 1. Marines, Marauders, they're just not good against Roach Main. They just die. You need siege tanks, and you need lots of them. So yes. Puma is only making 1 at a time. His quantities can be very limited. Notably, though, he will have 2/2 upgrades. So let's not count Puma out of this game. Although he took absurd amounts of damage early on, Terrans are the best comeback race in the game, hands down. Mules are incredible. And Puma, although he lost 4 of those mules, he's still churning them out. He's still got his 3 command centers. And he's going to have 2/2 here in a minute versus just 2/1 for HyuN, and mind you, a 2/1 that is not going to be helpful in the late game at all.
That's right. With that +2 missile attacks we mentioned, its usefulness completely drops off against Terran players after a few minutes into the game. Looks like he is going to do a nice job picking off some creep tumors here off to the side. You mentioned Jaedong levels of creep spread, though, before, and that's exactly what HyuN's doing. 15 minutes. He's about to knight his opponent's 4th just with pure creep spread.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It could be further, you know, it's the quantity of creep tumors we're seeing. It's kind of, they're not sprinkles coating in ice cream. They're kind of like, you know, I took a...
Yeah.
There's just a spritz of them on there, you know, there's not that many.
I gotta say, you know, HyuN opened up and he's still in a good position in this game, but he's not managed this part that effectively, or to the levels that we're used to seeing. Now, HyuN's always been kind of, you know, flip on the aggression switch and just hit your opponent with waves of aggression after you find kind of a weak spot. But the issue is that, and he's always been kind of a little bit sloppy in the sense that it's not come down to the best game management, but rather just good game sense.
That's actually a really good way to word that. Yeah.
Yeah. This game has kind of been an example of that. He knew when to do damage. He knew when to get his opponent back on his toes, but he hasn't followed this up especially well.
But here we are once again at the 16-minute mark, and who doesn't have a 3rd?
Yeah.
Puma.
No, I agree with you. I mean, like we said, HyuN is still really far ahead in this game. Like, I still feel that hands down he's going to win this game as long as he continues to manage it effectively from here on out. It's just that I agreed with you. I mean, when he went for +2 weapons, ranged weapons, and the Baneling Nest at the same time, I was like, okay, all right, Roach, Baneling, push.
Yeah,
and he's just going to try and win. Yeah.
So Ling's going to deny the 3rd that's actually not on the ground right now. Puma realizes, I can't hold that while I push out across the map. Drop is also going to be cleaned up, but finally HyuN is starting to work on those upgrades that will help him in the late game. He's continuing to progress his carapace, and he's starting his melee. Melee is the upgrade to have against Terran in the late stages of the game, not ranged. And HyuN's going to start working on that. He needs to, because Puma has 2/2.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at kind of a weird impasse in this game because HyuN doesn't have a strong enough army to just assault his opponent right now, but Puma's in no way, shape, or form able to reposition himself out on the map and try and hit a big engagement, because if he tries to draw units even into that amount of siege tank fire, he will get surrounded pretty effectively.
But now Puma is trying to take his 3rd, and I think this is the cue for HyuN to go. He might even try to engage us in the middle of the map. He sees it with this Bird Infester,
yes,
which is really, really nice. He just has a good glimpse of this army, but I'd love to see HyuN at this point swing around to the left-hand side of the map and just force a lift on that 3rd.
All right, well, HyuN trying to bait an unsiege more than likely from these units, but now has to get back to react to this medevac drop, as that's not going to do all that much damage. Very nice reaction time from HyuN there. He actually burrows his queen. Puma's not moved off. There we go. Finally unsieges and starts moving up, and this is going to be the cue for HyuN to go, and he's going to meet this force right in the middle of the map, although the tanks do siege up really proactively for Puma, and that's going to make it a little more difficult for HyuN.
It is, but the Lings managed to get on top of the siege tanks, and if those fungal growths are huge on Puma's army, catching the medevacs and the Marines simultaneously. Roach is going to be able to clean up the rest, and with one more fungal, 4 medevacs will die. Puma with almost no hope at this point, as he's down to 77 supply and has no money to remax from here, whereas HyuN has all the money you could ask for, man. He's about to make a ton of infestors, corruptors, who knows? Man.
I mean, he produced that
Put
force.
a drop at the 3rd will... Actually, how much economic damage
well,
did
that actually did good damage. Yeah, he ended up killing 16 workers there because his opponent was at 60 just a second ago, so almost all the economic damage was done at that moment. But the problem is that HyuN's now on 4 bases, Greater Spire. He can replenish his economy very quickly. Puma, on the other hand, is only just now saturating this 3rd base, or getting some economy, some semblance of economy situated over there. He's not had that this entire game.
Yeah, he has not. It only just landed. I think he cleaned up the... there's a Zergling sitting under it, so after that does get cleaned up, HyuN is dropping a 20-minute 3rd. Basically, folks, HyuN, as you mentioned, on quite a number of bases. But 3-3 is almost done for Puma, so the money that he does have will go a very, very long way. I just don't know if it will be quite far enough, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you. Still a rough spot for him. Again, though, HyuN's engagements were pretty good, that last one. He had a very large force of units that didn't really mesh well with what his opponent was doing. I mean, we talked about in the set with Revival, the roaches just, lose their effectiveness against Bio as you move on. And that was an example of that. Even though HyuN was bringing a lot more firepower to the fight, wasn't able to get anything done, unfortunately, with those roaches.
Infestor will clean up these drops. A couple infested Terrans there to aid the day. Lots of Lings positioned right now for a counterattack from HyuN. Ready to run into the third. You can see them in the top left of the minimap. The drop will get caught and cleaned up here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, Puma is able to do a little bit more of what Alive wanted to do in the set against Revival, though, and that's multitask and just kind of stretch his opponent apart, kill creep tumors, do some economic damage, keep his opponent pinned in while he restarts his own economy. And he has kind of done that. You see there's a lot of SCVs over here now. He's producing those 3 at a time. His economy is certainly sitting a lot more pretty than it was a while ago, but is it going to be enough to catch him back up?
Well, a lot of HyuN's supply at this time is actually in roaches, and he is, well, was tied in supply. Till 5 Broodlords came on the way. Those will be very helpful for HyuN indeed. I don't think Puma is quite ready to make the switch over to Vikings at this time.
And look at that, HyuN, this base is completely denied now. Not that there was a 4th command center in any thread on the way or turning into a planetary fortress or anything like that, but still does become relevant, especially as this base is about to be mined out here inside of the main.
He does need to work on that 4th base, completely true. Will clean up the creep tumor. That creep is going to take a long time to recede, but eventually it will. He'll be able to land that. 2 tanks at a time on the way right now for Puma, but he really needs to start working on Vikings. He's going to need those in order to deal with these Broodlords from HyuN.
And does he have any Vikings whatsoever? No. And 7 Broodlords against no Vikings is rough, because especially with the, still fairly decent infestor count that's sitting on the map. 7 infestors, a lot of banelings, even the roaches to tank some damage against the bio units at the front. Puma trying to be very cute. He tried a 4-pronged attack. That was 2 drops off to the side, bio units coming through the front, and a drop to the left-hand side.
There's creep absolutely everywhere. And although HyuN has, not done a great job at replacing creep as it dies, he spread it so well initially, and Puma has not been cleaning it up, is really the thing. He cleaned up a little on the right, and, that 1 creep tumor that was blocking his 4th base, but that's been about it.
So now, as we can see, Puma's been held back once again. He does have, let me actually check his SCV count, 55 to 53s, never mind. I thought that HyuN was going to have a little bit more and a little bit less into his army, but it looks like he's just a bit more concerned about having kind of that overwhelming late-game army that's going to crush his opponent rather than just being able to remax it super quickly.
Well, this is the time that HyuN wants to attack. He's going to hit the 3rd with some Zerglings right now, or actually roaches. And that's not enough Marines to deal with that many roaches. Especially, remember, they do have +2 from the early stages of these games, so these are some pretty tough roaches, man. And they are going to try to target down the 3rd, not manage to do it, and he's actually going to retreat from here after pulling Puma's army back home and out of position. A drop coming down the left-hand side is going to try to take out HyuN's 4th.
Yeah, and has a decent potential to do that, but the issue is, of course, these roaches are continuing to deny the 3rd, and having a 4th denied for 3rd actually favors HyuN at the moment, and that base will go down, so that is certainly a blow. That's been quite a bit, but look at this. Puma runs smack dab into the main army of HyuN off to the side. A couple of infestors have gone down, yes, but the Corruptors were able to fight back this Air Force oh so quickly, and the Broodlords are going to clean up the rest.
He needs to catch these siege tanks, and there are 4 running away right now that absolutely, positively can't. He has Zerglings that are heading up for a flanking maneuver. He's going to get those siege tanks, and this is so important for HyuN because he's now going to be able to likely secure this game as the supply will dip from 100 deficit to, another 10, 20 supply. There it goes. This is too much, man. HyuN is looking like he's going to take game number 1 in 26 minutes. Who would have expected?
Weird. I mean, after the way he opened up with those roaches and put himself way ahead, I didn't expect the game to go quite that long. Like I said, it was a little bit sloppy, but again, I am going to say there's kind of a reason for that with these qualifiers, these international ones. They take place, they start at a reasonable time in Korea, but they're very large tournaments with lots of people competing, and they can't stretch for a long period of time, so these games were played pretty late into the morning, honestly, so I'm sure these players were just both very tired.
At the same time, though, you did mention it's HyuN's play style to a certain degree, and of course, sleepiness being a factor on top of that. But hey, there's no shame in saying it. HyuN's like a sloppy Joe, man. He may be a little bit messy, but at the end, he just looks good as something that's crisp.
Yeah, and he gets the job done. So, guys, we are going to run to a commercial break. When we get back, it's going to be time now for game number 2 of this next best of 3, HyuN versus Puma, coming right back at you.